Have you ever felt like the real switch for your life is somewhere inside you and you just haven't found it yet? Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're carrying an old hurt. Maybe you're trying so hard out there, new plans, new gadgets, new goals, and yet something still feels off in here. If that's you, breathe with me for a second. It's okay. We're not here to chase perfection. We're here to make a little space so the good can come through. Tonight, I want to share a quiet way to grow. Little steps, gentle steps, drawing on old wisdom, but in a simple, human way. If that sounds right for you, stay with me. And if at any point this speaks to your heart, maybe hit subscribe so we can keep doing this together week by week. I want to start with something tender. Forgiveness. Not the big, fancy kind you read in books. Just the kind where you stop gripping the same story so tight. Years ago, I held on to a grudge that felt like a knot in my chest. I thought anger kept me safe, but all it did was keep me tired. One morning, sitting with coffee that had gone cold, I whispered to myself, maybe I can set it down a little today. Not forever, just a little. That small choice didn't erase the past. It just loosened the knot, and through that looseness, a bit of peace slipped in. People say, what goes around comes around. And sure, life does echo our actions. But here's the simple thing I learned. Holding on to hate, send it around again, toward me. Letting go stops the echo. Not all at once. Slowly, softly, one breath at a time. Forgiveness isn't saying it never mattered. It's saying, I matter too. My sleep matters. My heart matters. The way my shoulders finally drop at the end of the day matters. Maybe you're not ready to forgive the person. That's okay. Could you forgive the weight of the memory? Could you give yourself 5 quiet minutes where you don't replay the scene? Maybe you write a letter you never send. Maybe you say, I release what I can today, and if tomorrow asks for more, you offer a little more. Love doesn't arrive with trumpets. Sometimes it arrives as a lighter step on the kitchen floor. From forgiveness, we drift into living with intention, which sounds big, but it can be ordinary and kind. It isn't about a perfect morning routine or a long list of goals. It's about checking in before the day takes you. I keep 3 words in my notes app. Kind, clear, real. Before I answer a message, before I say yes to something, I look at those 3 words. Does this choice help me be kind? Can I be clear about it? Does it feel real to me? Not because it looks good, not because I'm scared to say no, but because it fits. Most days I don't get perfect, and that's okay. Like steering a small boat, you make tiny turns all day, a little left, a little right, back to center. You won't always know your big purpose, but you can live on purpose for the next 5 minutes. That's more than enough to start. Sometimes intention is as simple as, today I'll speak a little softer to myself, or tonight I'll eat in a way that lets me sleep well, or I'll call the person I love before the day runs away with me. You don't have to build a brand new you. You just nudge the one you already are. And when you forget, because we all forget, you come back. If you need a reminder, write on a sticky note, set an alarm at 8 p.m., or tuck a small pebble in your pocket. So each time you feel it, you remember, I'm allowed to live gently. There's a quiet kind of generosity I want to talk about too. Not just money, the gift of attention. The gift of going first with, I'm sorry. The gift of waiting 2 more seconds before you interrupt. The gift of sitting with someone's worry without trying to fix it. I knew a neighbor who used to bring over a jar of soup when my week got heavy. I'd always say, you didn't have to. She'd smile and say, I wanted to. Giving like that does something funny. it fills a giver too. When you offer a soft place for someone to land, you end up resting there as well. And if you don't have much to give, it's okay. A real how are you is already a kind of bread. But none of this works if we never look inward, not in a harsh, judge-why way. Just noticing. You might sit for 3 minutes and watch your breath go in and out. Maybe you ask, what am I really feeling? Often it's not anger, it's fear, not laziness. It's overwhelmed. Naming it is like turning on a small lamp in a dark room. The furniture stops scaring you because you can finally see where it is. You don't need fancy words. I'm sad. I'm scared. I'm lonely. I'm hopeful. Simple is honest, and honest is healing. There's also something precious called equanimity, a steady heart when life sways. You don't have to be a rock. You can feel everything and still keep your center. Think about the last time someone praised you, and you floated for a day. Then someone criticized you, and you sank like a stone. I've lived on that roller coaster. It's normal, but maybe we can try this. When praise comes, smile and let it pass through. When criticism comes, listen for what's useful, let the rest drift by. Not cold, just steady. A steady heart doesn't make life dull. It makes it clear. And then there's the ego, that small voice that wants to win, prove, compare. Mine pops up at odd times. Scrolling a feed, hearing about someone's promotion, watching another creator explode with views. I used to pretend I didn't care. Now I just say, there you are. I don't fight it. I don't feed it. I offered a seat and I keep working. When we loosen our grip on needing to be the one, we get to be with the ones we love, doing the work that matters in a way that feels true. And if you slip, if envy shows up, hey, it's okay. That's just a human heart asking for a little care. Give it the care. Then keep going. A piece of this path is learning. Not to collect trophies, but to keep your soul awake. Read a page. Ask a better question. Try a small new thing. I like the rule of one tiny upgrade each week. One healthier habit, one kinder thought, one simpler system that saves you 10 minutes. Over time, these little upgrades stack up like quiet bricks building a steady home. If you're older and think it's too late, please hear me. It's not. Your heart is still learning how to love. And that is the lesson that never ends. Another part is spending with care. I don't mean pinching every penny in fear. I mean pausing before you buy the thing that promises to make you feel whole. Will it really? Sometimes, yes, a good mattress, a warm coat, food that loves you back. Often, no. When you spend on what truly matters, you spend less on what doesn't. Peace is a kind of wealth, too. But the thread that runs through all of this is mindfulness, being here for your own life. When you walk, feel your feet. When you wash a plate, feel the warm water, smell the soap. When you talk to a friend, put the phone down and look right at them. You don't have to be perfect. You just come back, again and again. That coming back is the practice. And yes, some days are messy. You're allowed to be messy. You're still welcome here. I also believe in serving, not to be a hero, but to be human together. Maybe you help at the shelter once a month, checking on your aunt on Sundays, or tip a little extra when you can. Service doesn't have to be loud. It can be a warm casserole, a ride to the clinic, a text that says, I'm proud of you. When we pour like that, we don't empty, we circulate. What we give returns in 100 quiet ways. If any of this feels like a lot, take the smallest possible step. Pick one soft practice in the next 7 days. Forgive a little, breathe a little, spend a little wiser, listen a little longer. You don't have to fix your whole life by Friday. You just take one step toward gentle. And if this kind of space helps, this calm corner where we talk softly about real things, maybe subscribe so you won't miss the next time we sit together. Drop a comment and tell me, what do you want to let go of this week? What's one tiny intention you can carry into tomorrow morning? If you're shy, that's okay. Just write one word. Rest. Brave. Heal. I'll know what you mean. Before we close this part, let me leave you with a simple picture. Imagine you're holding a glass of water at arm's length. The water isn't heavy at first, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. Pain can be like that. Anger, too. You can put the glass down for a while. You can rest your arm. You can sip instead of strain. You can sit on the table, watch the light pass through it, and remember there's beauty in ordinary things. That's all we're doing here. Setting things down, picking up what's light, and walking on together. If you're still with me, thank you. Really. Take a breath. Unclench your jaw. Drop your shoulders. You're doing better than you think. And if nobody told you today, let me be the one. You're allowed to grow slowly. You're allowed to start again at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. You're allowed to be soft and still be strong. We'll keep going, step by step, in the next part. Sometimes I think life is one long lesson in gentleness, with ourselves, with people, with the world. We spend so much time trying to be right or better or ahead, and we forget that peace doesn't come from control. It comes from softening, from noticing, from giving a little more than we take. There's a story I love about an old man who sold flowers by the road. Every day, no matter how hot or rainy, he smiled at everyone who passed. One day a young man asked, "How can you smile all day when business is so slow?" The old man said, "Because when I smile, I never have a slow day." That's generosity in its quiet form, the kind that gives warmth instead of things. Maybe you can't fix someone's problem, but you can make the space around them lighter for a moment. That counts. I used to think generosity meant grand gestures, big donations, volunteering trips, doing something that made headlines. But I've learned that a handwritten note, a short message saying, "I was thinking of you," can change someone's entire morning. When we give freely, something soft opens in us too. We start seeing people, not obstacles. We start hearing stories behind their faces. Now, there's also reflection, the gentle mirror we hold up to ourselves. It's not about blaming or overanalyzing. It's more like asking, what did I feel today and why? Sometimes I do this before bed, lying there with the lights off. I rewind my day. I see where I snapped at someone or stayed quiet when I wanted to speak. And instead of judging, I say, "That's interesting. I wonder what that was about." This kind of noticing slowly teaches us compassion. First for ourselves, then for everyone else who's just trying to figure life out too. When you sit quietly with your own mind, you begin to realize how fast it runs. It jumps from worry to plan to memory and back again. And that's okay. You don't have to stop the noise. You just have to listen long enough to hear what's underneath. Usually it's a small voice saying, "I just want to be loved. I just want to feel safe." Once you hear that, your whole attitude toward others changes. You see that they want the same thing. Another thing I've learned, balance isn't found by locking everything in place. It's found by moving gracefully between joy and pain, praise and criticism, gain and loss. Equanimity, Buddhists call it a steady heart. When something good happens, enjoy it, but don't cling to it. When something painful happens, feel it, but don't drown in it. Think of life as waves coming to shore. You don't fight the waves. You learn to float. There was a time my work went viral. People loved it, shared it, praised it. I felt like I was flying. Then the next project flopped, and suddenly I felt small again. It took me months to realize both moments were temporary. I need to ride them so hard. When you let life flow, it hurts less. And in that stillness, you begin to see beauty even in ordinary things. The way light hits the wall, the way someone's laughter drifts from another room. Let's talk about ego for a second. The ego whispers, you need to be noticed. It compares, competes, complains. It shows up when you scroll and think, they have more, they're better. I still catch mine doing that. But instead of fighting it, I smile and say, hey, buddy, I see you. That small awareness already loosens its grip, because the truth is, there's enough light for all of us. Someone else's success doesn't steal yours. It reminds you what's possible. I once met an old teacher who said, when you forget yourself, you remember the world. It took me years to understand that. The moment you stop performing, people start feeling you for real. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to be present. And then there's learning. Not school learning, but soul learning. Staying curious keeps us alive. Read a page that stretches you. Watch the sunset and ask, why does this move me so much? Talk to someone different from you and really listen. Every conversation, every mistake, every tiny success is a classroom. The older I get, the more I realize that growing wiser just means staying open. I want to pause here and invite you to join me in something simple. This channel isn't about preaching. It's about sharing, like sitting at a kitchen table, late at night, talking honestly. If this kind of talk helps you breathe a little easier, maybe subscribe so you don't lose this space. And if you can, share it with someone who needs a moment of calm. That's how we keep these small lights alive. Back to generosity for a moment. The Buddha once said giving brings happiness 3 times. When you decide to give, when you give, and when you remember you gave. Isn't that lovely? It means joy stretches beyond the moment. So try this week. Give one thing that costs you nothing. A compliment, patience in traffic, 5 minutes of listening. You might be surprised how it softens your day. Finally, remember this. All of these small practices, forgiveness, reflection, generosity, equanimity, humility, curiosity, they aren't rules. They're invitations. Take what fits. Leave what doesn't. Come back when you're ready. You don't have to change overnight. Growth is quiet. It happens between breaths, between words, and how you treat the next person you meet. So as you finish this part, maybe close your eyes for a moment. Think of one thing you're ready to release and one thing you want to invite in. Hold them both gently, like 2 hands meeting in prayer. Not because you have to, but because it feels right. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I hope you feel a little lighter. In the next part, we'll talk about how to carry this calm into everyday life. Work, family, mornings that start too early and nights that won't end. Until then, take care of yourself. Breathe. You're doing fine. You know, calm isn't something we find on a mountain or in a meditation room. It's something we build in the middle of real life. Between the ringing phone, the bills, the family noise, the quiet guilt that we didn't do enough today. Calm is what we learn to make inside the storm. I used to think peace was about changing everything around me. Different job, different city, different people. But when I finally slowed down, I saw the pattern. Wherever I went, I brought the same mind with me. Same habits, same thoughts, same noise. Maybe peace was never about escaping. It was about listening. So let's start small. The next time you wake up, before you reach your phone, take one deep breath. Just one. Let the morning light hit your face. That one breath can be a soft reset, reminding you, I'm still here. I still get to start over. It doesn't need to be a perfect day. It just needs to be a present one. And when you move through your day, notice how your body talks. The tight shoulders when someone cuts you off in traffic. The shallow breath when you rush through lunch. The little ache when you say yes but want to say no. These are messages, not mistakes. They're your body whispering. Slow down. You don't have to fix everything this second. Maybe you just need to soften a little. There's a story a friend once told me about her grandmother. Every evening, after washing dishes, she'd stand by the sink and say quietly, "Thank you for another day." Nothing fancy. No candles, no chants. Just that sentence. I asked her why. She smiled and said, because even when nothing big happens, that's something. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything's okay. It means noticing that even in the middle of the mess, there's still a bit of light. Maybe it's your dog greeting you. Maybe it's the smell of coffee. Maybe it's the fact that you made it through another hard day. When you start seeing those small lights, your world stops feeling so heavy. Try this tonight. Before bed, list 3 things that made today softer. Maybe it's just, I laughed once, the rain sounded nice, or I didn't give up. That's enough. Write them down, whisper them, or just think them before you close your eyes. Over time, you'll find that your heart starts to lean toward gratitude automatically, even on the hard days. Now, about balance, because I know some of you watching feel torn between taking care of yourself and caring for everyone else. Maybe you spent years putting others first, and now you're running on fumes. Listen to me. You are allowed to rest. Rest isn't selfish, it's maintenance. Think about it like this. When you're on a plane, they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first before helping others. You can't pour from an empty cup, no matter how good your intentions are. Take the nap. Say not tonight. Eat something warm. Sit in the sun for 5 minutes. That's not laziness. That's self-respect. When you're rested, you love better. You listen deeper. You respond instead of react. Self-care isn't about bubble baths. It's about remembering that you're human, not a machine. And once your cup refills, you'll find yourself naturally wanting to serve again. That's the beauty of balance. It's not me or them. It's me and them in rhythm. Now, let's talk about compassion, the kind that stretches outward. Maybe you've noticed that when you're kind to someone else, your own heart relaxes. Compassion isn't pity. It's seeing yourself in another person's eyes. You might not be able to solve their problem, but your presence says, you're not alone. I remember standing in line at the grocery store when the woman ahead of me realized she was short a few dollars. Everyone behind her was sighing, tapping phones. She looked embarrassed. I handed the cashier the difference, just a few bucks, and she looked at me like I'd given her the world. I walked out smiling, not because of what I did, but because I remembered how it feels when someone does that for you. These are the quiet threads that hold the world together. Try making someone's day this week. Compliment the cashier. Let someone merge in traffic without a grumble. Text a friend out of the blue. Thinking of you. Little ripples, big change. Still, we can't always stay soft. Life will test you. You'll meet people who misunderstand you, situations that break you open. The trick isn't to avoid the hard stuff. It's to let it polish you, not poison you. Each challenge is a teacher wearing a disguise. There was a period in my life when everything fell apart. My job, my confidence, even my sense of direction. I tried to fight it, but the harder I resisted, the heavier it felt. Then one morning, I simply said, "Okay, I'll learn from this too." That small surrender didn't solve everything, but it changed me. It made me stronger without making me hard. That's what resilience really is, not toughness, but flexibility. Like bamboo in the wind, it bends but doesn't break. You can be gentle and strong. Those two aren't opposites. They're partners. Before we end this part, I want you to imagine something. You're walking down a quiet street at sunset. The air is soft. You can feel your breath. The world doesn't need fixing right now. It just needs noticing. The birds, the sky, the way light hits a window, all small miracles that usually slip by. You smile, not because everything's perfect, but because you are finally present for it. That's mindfulness, not an app, not a ritual, just being here for your own life. And when you are here fully, you start to see that happiness isn't waiting at the end of the road. It's right under your feet. If you're still watching, I want to thank you. Really, this is a channel of perfect answers. It's a space to breathe, to remember, to feel human again. If this has touched you in some way, subscribe so you can come back when the world feels heavy. Leave a comment below. Tell me one small thing to help you stay calm today. Maybe your story will help someone else breathe a little easier, too. In the next part, we'll talk about how to grow through service, how helping others can deepen your own peace, and how community heals what solitude cannot. Until then, rest well, drink some water, and remember, calm isn't found. It's made one gentle breath at a time. When you think about growth, maybe you picture climbing, more goals, more success, more everything. But sometimes growth isn't climbing. Sometimes it's reaching sideways, towards someone else. Because the truth is, we don't grow alone. We grow in connection, in kindness, in service. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. For a long time, I thought helping people meant fixing their problems. I'd jump in with advice, plans, solutions, like I could rescue them from their pain. But often, they didn't need rescuing. They just needed someone to sit next to them while they figured it out. Service isn't always about doing. Sometimes it's about being. One of the most powerful things you can say to someone is, "I'm here," not "I know what to do," not "it'll be fine," just "I'm here." Those two words carry the weight of compassion. When you offer that kind of presence, something shifts in the room. The air softens, hearts open, and you realize you didn't just help them. They helped you remember what matters. There's a woman I once met at a community kitchen. Her name was Clara, mid-70s, soft-spoken, always humming while she served soup. I asked her why she volunteered every week. She smiled and said, "Because when I stir the soup, I don't feel old. I feel alive." That line never left me. That's the magic of serving others. It brings you back to life. You remember you still have something to give, no matter your age, your income, your past mistakes. It doesn't have to be big. You can bake cookies for a neighbor, help your friend move, call someone who's lonely. The act doesn't need applause. The gift is already complete when you give it. But let's be honest, sometimes giving is hard. You pour out and start to feel empty. You help and no one says thank you. You care and people still walk away. That's when you have to pause. You can't keep giving from an empty place. Even the sun sets each night before it shines again. Rest, refill, then return. Self-care is not a break from service. It's part of it. Buddhist teachings talk about right intention, doing things from love, not ego. It's easy to fall into the trap of giving just to feel useful or liked or needed. I've done that too. You start to chase gratitude instead of meaning. But the quiet kind of giving, the one done without anyone watching, that's where peace hides. There's a beautiful saying, when you give expecting nothing, you already have everything. Think about that. The moment you release the need for recognition, you're free. You're not trading love. You're becoming love. Maybe that's what the world needs more than anything right now. Not big gestures, but small acts done with an open heart. Picking up trash on the sidewalk, even if no one's looking. Smiling at the tired cashier. Letting someone merge in traffic when you're in a hurry. These things seem tiny, but they shift the atmosphere. They're like ripples. You'll never know how far they reach. And service doesn't just help others. It heals you. It reminds you that you belong somewhere larger than your worries. When you volunteer, when you teach, when you share what you know, you step out of the small circle of me and into the bigger one of we. I remember mentoring a teenager who was struggling in school. We met every week for months, just talking about life, not grades. One day he said, "You make me feel like I'm not broken." I smiled and said, "You're not. You're just learning." Later that night, I realized he'd said exactly what I needed to hear. That's the secret. Helping someone else often gives you back the piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. Still, it's okay to feel tired sometimes. It's okay to say no. You can't save everyone. And you're not supposed to. Even Buddha, with all his compassion, couldn't take away everyone's suffering. He taught them how to face it. You can do the same. Instead of carrying people's pain for them, walk beside them while they carry it themselves. That's real love. If you ever feel like your efforts don't matter, remember this. One kind act can echo for years. A smile, a listening ear, a few dollars shared. These things plant seeds. You might not see them bloom, but they will. Somewhere, someone will breathe easier because of you. I'd like you to try something this week. Think of one simple way to serve. Something honest and doable. Maybe it's visiting your parents, donating clothes you no longer wear, leaving a kind note for a coworker. Then notice how you feel afterward. Not proud, not superior, just full. That's what alignment feels like. And if you've already been giving a lot, if you're the one everyone leans on, then your service this week might be to rest. To say, I need a break. That's not selfish. That's wisdom. You can't keep lighting candles if your own flame is out. Now, I want to talk about community. Real community isn't about being surrounded by people. It's about being seen. It's about finding spaces where you can laugh, cry, grow, and be accepted as you are. If you don't have that yet, it's okay. Sometimes you have to build it yourself. Start small. Have coffee with one person who makes you feel safe. Message someone you lost touch with. Join a group that shares your values. Human connection is like muscle. It grows with use. And when you nurture it, your world expands in ways no self-help book ever could. We heal in community. We thrive in connection. That's how the Buddha's first teaching spread. Through people sitting together, talking, learning, sharing stories. Just like we're doing now, across screens and miles. If this conversation gives you comfort, I'd love for you to stay connected. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet, and tell me in the comments, what's one small act of kindness you'll do this week? Maybe your idea will inspire someone else to do the same. Let's make this space not just a channel, but a little circle of kindness that keeps growing. Before we end, take a moment, breathe in, feel the quiet between your breaths. You've made it through so much, and you're still here. Still learning, still loving, still giving. That's enough. You don't have to change the whole world. Just make your corner a little warmer. Light one candle. Offer one smile. Help one person. And in doing that, you'll discover maybe you already are the change you've been waiting for. There's a moment we all face when life stops listening to our plans. The bills pile up, someone we love gets sick, the news feels heavier than the morning air. And in that chaos, peace can seem like a faraway dream, reserved for monks or people who live by the sea. But the truth is, peace isn't about silence outside. It's about stillness inside. I used to chase calm like it was a destination. I'd light candles, make tea, play soft music. But the moment something went wrong, it all fell apart. Then I realized peace doesn't mean things are perfect. It means you can breathe even when they're not. You can stand in the middle of the storm and whisper, "I'm still here." Maybe that's where you are right now. Holding too many things, trying to be strong for everyone, pretending you're fine when you're just tired. If so, let's take this moment together. Inhale slowly. Exhale softer. Feel your shoulders drop. There it is, the first tiny piece of peace. It's not gone. It's just been waiting for you to stop running long enough to notice. When everything around you feels chaotic, remember this. Peace begins with attention. Whatever you give attention to grows. If you keep watering worry, it will take over your garden. But if you water gratitude, even once a day, small flowers start to appear. A few years ago, I went through a season where everything seemed to crumble. I lost a job, a friendship ended, my health wasn't great. Every night, my mind replayed what I'd lost. Then one morning, I sat on the porch and decided to list things that hadn't left me. The smell of coffee, the sunlight on my face, the sound of a neighbor laughing. I didn't feel better right away, but I felt real. And real is always the first step toward better. Peace doesn't arrive like a miracle. It grows like a plant. You water it with small choices, choosing silence over reaction, kindness over blame, breath over panic. And one day, you look around and realize the storm hasn't stopped, but you've stopped fighting the rain. You've learned how to dance in it. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing one thing at a time, fully. When you're eating, just eat. When you're listening, just listen. When you're resting, really rest. Most of us are half here and half somewhere else, scrolling through what-ifs. But peace only lives in the present moment. If you ever feel overwhelmed, try the simple grounding. Name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can feel under your hands. It brings your mind back home. The world may still spin, but you stop spinning with it. The Buddha once said, "There is no path to peace. Peace is the path." I didn't understand that for years. But now I think he meant that peace isn't something we reach after fixing everything. It's something we practice while things are still messy. You don't wait for calm to arrive. You create it right in the middle of chaos. Let's talk about letting go, because most of our chaos comes from holding on too tight. Holding on to how things should be. Holding on to people who've already walked their path. Holding on to the past like it still owes us something. I've done all of that. Maybe you have too. One night, during a tough season, I sat on my bedroom floor and whispered, "I can't do this anymore." But the truth was, I didn't need to do anything. I just needed to release. To stop gripping life like it was slipping away. I cried, I breathed, and something inside me loosened. It didn't fix my problems, but it made space for light to come in. Maybe that's where your peace is hiding too, in the space that opens when you stop fighting what's already here. You don't have to let go all at once. Just loosen your hand a little today. That's enough. Peace also grows through people. We're not meant to carry everything alone. Find the ones who calm your nervous system, the friend who listens without fixing, the neighbor who smiles when you walk by, even the stranger whose kindness catches you off guard. Those small connections remind us the world isn't as cruel as our fears make it seem. And if you can't find anyone right now, talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. Tell yourself, I'm proud of you for trying. Tell yourself, it's okay to rest. Tell yourself, we'll figure this out, because you are part of your own peace. I once read that the ocean never stops moving, yet it always finds its rhythm. That's what peace feels like. The waves of life keep rolling, sometimes loud, sometimes calm, but underneath, the deep water stays steady. You have that same depth in you. You just forget sometimes. So when life shakes you, don't curse the waves. Learn to float. Float on faith. Float on breath. Float on the simple knowing that you've survived every storm so far. That's not luck. That's resilience. And it's beautiful. Before we close this part, I want you to try something. Tonight, when the noise of the day fades, sit in silence for 2 minutes. Feel your heartbeat. Whisper, thank you for one thing, just one. Let that thank you echo through the room. That's you choosing peace. That's you coming home to yourself. And if this message found you when you needed it, please subscribe so we can keep walking together through these storms. Leave a comment below and tell me, what helps you find calm when life gets loud? Your answer might become the gentle reminder someone else needs tomorrow. We'll continue in the next part by talking about how to rebuild joy. Not the loud kind that comes from winning, but the quiet kind that returns when you start trusting life again. Until then, breathe slow, be kind to yourself, and remember, peace isn't out there somewhere. It's right here, waiting in the space between one breath and the next. There comes a point after the storm when everything is quieter, but not yet peaceful. The noise outside has faded, yet inside, it still hums. You wake up, make your coffee, and the world feels a little dimmer than before. That's when rebuilding begins, not the big dramatic kind, but the slow, almost invisible kind. The kind where joy doesn't rush back all at once. It tiptoes. Joy is a funny thing. We think it's something we have to chase, a vacation, a dream job, a person who completes us. But joy doesn't live out there. It's not hiding behind a perfect day or a new goal. Joy lives quietly, inside ordinary moments, waiting for us to notice. I remember one morning, after a really rough year, I went for a walk with no purpose. The sky was pale blue, the air cool. I saw an old man feeding birds at the park. Same bench, same bag of crumbs. The way the birds fluttered around him looked like laughter made of wings. And for the first time in months, I smiled without trying. It was small, but it was real. That's how joy comes back. It doesn't knock. It just shows up when you finally stop forcing it. Maybe you've forgotten what joy feels like. Maybe the last few years have taken more than they've given. That's okay. Joy isn't gone. It's just waiting for space. Sometimes pain takes up all the room, and we have to gently clear out to make space for something light again. Start by noticing the things that make you exhale, the smell of food cooking, the sound of someone laughing in another room, the way sunlight lands on your hands. Those are doorways to joy. The more you walk through them, the wider they get. Don't rush this. Healing isn't a race. It's a rhythm. Some days you'll feel light again, and others you'll sink. That's not failure. That's the tide. Let it move. Let yourself move with it. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that joy and sorrow can coexist. You can be grateful and grieving, hopeful and scared, calm and uncertain, all at once. Life doesn't ask us to choose one feeling over another. It just asks us to stay open. Think of joy like a fragile bird. It won't land in clenched hands. You have to soften your grip, even on your pain. The softer you are, the safer joy feels to return. I met a woman once who lost her husband after 40 years of marriage. She told me, "I thought I'd never laugh again, but one day I heard my grandson giggle and something in me cracked open. It hurt and healed at the same time." That's joy's secret. It doesn't erase your sadness. It sits beside it, holding its hand. If you're wondering how to start rebuilding joy, try this. Create small rituals that remind you you're alive. Drink your coffee outside instead of scrolling on your phone. Hum a song while you wash dishes. Light a candle before bed and whisper one thing you're thankful for. These small things might seem too simple, but that's what joy loves, simplicity. It doesn't need fireworks. It just needs your attention. And when life feels heavy again, and it will, don't panic. That doesn't mean you've lost joy. It just means you're human. You can carry light and darkness in the same hands. Another way to rebuild joy is through movement. Not just exercise, but movement that feels alive. Walk, stretch, sway to music, dance in your kitchen when nobody's watching. The body remembers how to celebrate long before the mind does. Sometimes you can't think your way back to happiness. You have to move your way there. When you move, you remind your heart that it's still beating for something. You remind your lungs that they still know rhythm. And in those small, awkward dances, you remind your soul, I'm still here. But joy also grows through connection, through people who see you as you are, not as you pretend to be. Find your safe people, the ones who let you talk without fixing you. Maybe it's a friend, a sibling, an online community, or even this little space right here. Talk to them. Laugh with them. Sit in silence with them. The moment you stop hiding your pain, joy finds a way to slip back in. And if you're alone right now, talk to yourself with kindness. Be the friend you wish you had. When you speak gently to yourself, joy starts trusting you again. It tiptoes back into your life because it knows it's safe here. You might not notice it right away, but every time you choose to breathe instead of break, every time you look for beauty instead of bitterness, every time you forgive yourself for not being there yet, joy quietly grows roots beneath your feet. You're building a garden without even realizing it. So water it a little today. Smile, even if it's shaky. Say thank you for one small thing. Send a message to someone just to say hi. Those small things, they're how you start glowing again. Before we end this part, let me remind you, joy isn't a reward, it's a companion. It's not waiting at the finish line. It walks beside you through every chapter, even the hard ones. Take a deep breath with me. Feel that? That's life still flowing through you. That's joy, quiet, steady, real. And if this spoke to you, please subscribe so we can keep walking together through these small steps of healing and rediscovery. Leave a comment below and tell me one thing. What's a small moment of joy you've noticed this week? Maybe your words will help someone else look up and find theirs too. We'll meet again in the next part, where we'll talk about trust, how to believe again after disappointment, and how to let life surprise you when you thought it couldn't. Until then, take your time, move gently, and remember, joy doesn't need a reason. Sometimes being here is reason enough. There's a quiet kind of ache that comes after disappointment. It's not loud like heartbreak. It's softer, almost invisible. You start doubting things you once believed in, people, dreams, even yourself. You wake up and do what needs to be done, but there's a small whisper inside that says, "What's the point?" If you felt that, you're not broken. You're just learning how to trust again, and that, my friend, is one of the bravest things a human can do. Trust doesn't return overnight. It's like rebuilding a bridge after a storm. Piece by piece, plank by plank, sometimes with shaky hands. And that's okay. The truth is, life will hurt us sometimes. People will walk away. Plans will crumble, and what once felt certain will vanish without warning. But the deeper truth is this: every ending carries a seed of beginning. Trust grows when we decide to water that seed, even while our hands still tremble. There was a time I stopped trusting completely, not just in others, but in life itself. Everything that could go wrong seemed to go wrong. I started to close off, telling myself, if I expect nothing, I won't get hurt. Maybe you've said something like that too. But here's what I learned. Expecting nothing doesn't protect you. It just numbs you. You don't stop the pain. You stop the joy too. And slowly, you start disappearing from your own life. One day, an older neighbor named Helen invited me to tea. She was one of those people who had lost almost everything: her husband, her house, even her health. But she laughed easily, like she just remembered something wonderful. I asked her how she managed to stay so hopeful. She said, "I stopped expecting life to be fair and started trusting it to be teaching." That line hit me deep, because maybe life isn't trying to break us. Maybe it's trying to open us. Trust isn't blind faith. It's quiet courage. It's saying, I don't know what's coming, but I'll meet it anyway. When you live like that, you stop waiting for guarantees. You start building peace in the unknown. Maybe you've been hurt by people who promised forever and disappeared. Maybe your plans collapsed and left you questioning your worth. Maybe your body changed, your dreams shifted, and you don't recognize yourself anymore. I want you to know something. Nothing that left you took your ability to rise. You're still here, and that means life hasn't given up on you yet. So, how do we start trusting again? Slowly, gently, like learning how to walk after a fall. You start with small acts of faith. Things so simple they almost seem silly. Step outside and feel the wind on your face. Cook a meal and really taste it. Say yes to something new, even if it scares you. Life starts to feel trustworthy again when you stop standing at the edge and begin stepping in. You can even practice trust with yourself. Keep one promise, just one. Go for that short walk you said you would. Drink that glass of water. Rest when you said you'd rest. Each time you follow through, your mind learns that you're someone it can rely on. Self-trust is the root of all other trust. And when it comes to trusting others, don't rush it. You don't owe blind faith to anyone. Trust isn't about ignoring red flags. It's about keeping your heart open enough to see green ones too. Not everyone will break you. Some people will surprise you by showing up again and again, even when you push them away. Let them in slowly. Let them prove that safety can return in small doses. It's okay if you're cautious now. You've earned that wisdom. But don't let caution harden into isolation. Leave one door cracked open for grace to walk through. Here's something I've started saying when life feels uncertain. Maybe this, too, is for me. Not in a toxic positivity way, but in a curious one. Maybe this heartbreak is teaching me how to love deeper. Maybe this delay is protecting me from something I can't see yet. Maybe this quiet season is where my roots are growing. We don't always get answers, but we can choose the meaning. When you trust life again, you start seeing its small kindnesses. A stranger holding a door, a song that plays at the perfect time, a moment of laughter after a hard day. These things aren't coincidences. They're whispers. You're still being cared for. Rebuilding trust also means forgiving yourself for the times you stayed too long, for the things you didn't know, for believing people who weren't ready to love you right. You were doing your best with what you had, and that's enough. You don't have to keep punishing yourself for being human. As you forgive, you begin to soften again. And that softness, that's where trust lives. Not in perfection, not in certainty, in softness. Let me give you a little exercise. Before bed tonight, say these words out loud. I don't have to understand everything to be okay. Repeat it until it lands. Because that's what trust really is. The willingness to move forward even without a map. And if you fall again, if you lose faith again, that's all right. Just remember, you've rebuilt before. You can rebuild again. If this message found you tonight, please subscribe so we can keep walking together through this journey of healing and rediscovery. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's one thing you want to start trusting again? Yourself, life, love, or something else? Maybe your story will remind someone that trust isn't lost forever. It just takes time. We'll meet again in the final part, where we'll talk about purpose, how to live with meaning even when life feels uncertain, and how the smallest act of love can become your legacy. Until then, be gentle with your heart. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just keep showing up. Trust grows in the footsteps of courage. One day, one breath, one soft maybe at a time. There's something beautiful that happens when the noise of achievement fades. And the question that remains isn't what did I get, but what did I give? That's what this last part is really about. Purpose. Not the grand, world-changing kind people write books about, but the soft, human kind that lives quietly in your everyday choices. For a long time, I thought purpose had to be huge. I thought I needed to build something impressive, reach millions, or do something that made people remember my name. But as I've grown older, I've realized purpose isn't loud. It's consistent. It's in the small ways you show up. It's in how you make people feel safer when you're around. It's in how you keep showing kindness, even when the world feels cruel. Purpose is found in the way you love, the way you listen, the way you make a tired cashier smile or a friend feel seen. It's found in how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening, because your energy, your presence, is what people remember long after the words fade. I once met a nurse named Margaret. She worked the night shift at a small hospital. Nothing about her job seemed glamorous. She wasn't rich or famous. But every patient she cared for talked about her like she was light itself. She remembered names, hummed while she changed IVs, whispered, "You're doing great," when people were too weak to speak. That was her legacy, quiet, constant love. And that's what purpose looks like in real life. You don't have to change the whole world. Just don't stop changing the small one around you. That's enough. If you've ever felt lost, wondering what your purpose is, maybe start with this. Follow what feels true, not what looks impressive, not what others expect, but what makes your heart hum quietly. Purpose doesn't need a title. It just needs honesty. Ask yourself, what brings me peace? Maybe it's helping someone learn. Maybe it's cooking meals. Maybe it's raising kids or caring for plants. The point isn't whether it's big or small. The point is that it's yours. Life becomes lighter when you live aligned with what you love, not what you're told to love. And if you don't know yet, that's okay. Sometimes purpose isn't found. It's revealed slowly through trial, silence, and surrender. Keep doing what's right in front of you with a little more heart than yesterday. That's how it shows up. There's also this quiet truth. Your purpose changes as you do. Who you were 5 years ago isn't who you are now. And that's not failure. That's evolution. You can outgrow dreams. You can pivot. You can begin again at 60 or 70. The world doesn't stop offering you chances just because time has passed. I think of my grandfather. He was a mechanic for most of his life. After he retired, he started fixing bicycles for neighborhood kids for free. He used to say, "I spent years fixing engines. Now I fix smiles." That was his second purpose, and it was just as meaningful as the first. So maybe your purpose isn't something you have to chase. Maybe it's something you grow into again and again. And purpose doesn't mean the absence of struggle. In fact, the two often walk together. Every act of love, every moment of service, every time you choose integrity over comfort, it costs something, but that's what gives it weight. There will be days when you doubt what you're doing, when you feel unseen or unappreciated. On those days, remember, seeds grow in the dark before they bloom. Just because no one's clapping yet doesn't mean you're not growing something beautiful. Your purpose isn't for applause. It's for alignment, the quiet knowing that you're living in harmony with your truth. If you're wondering where to start, try this small exercise. Close your eyes, take a breath, and ask yourself, who feels better because I exist? Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a stranger you smiled at once. Maybe it's you, because you finally started treating yourself kindly. That's where your purpose lives. Right there, in that ripple of warmth that spreads quietly through someone else's heart. And if that question feels too heavy, simplify it. What small thing can I do today that adds goodness instead of noise? Purpose begins with small things done with great love. You know, as I record these words, I think about how strange and beautiful it is that you and I are connected through nothing more than sound, and yet somehow, in this digital moment, something real passes between us. Understanding, maybe even peace. That's the power of small connections. That's purpose too. If you stayed through this journey, from forgiveness to peace, from loss to joy, from chaos to calm, then you've already done something remarkable. You've stayed open, and in a world that teaches us to harden, staying open is an act of courage. So here's my final invitation. Live like your presence matters, because it does. Every kind word, every patient breath, every time you choose gentleness over judgment, you're shaping the world, even if you can't see it. Purpose isn't out there waiting for you. It's right here, breathing with you, moving through every small, kind thing you do. Before we close, I want you to take a deep breath and whisper something to yourself. I am enough, and I am becoming. Let that sentence sink in, because that's the truest purpose any of us can have, to keep becoming more loving, more awake, more real. If these words have touched you, please subscribe so we can keep walking together, part by part, story by story. Leave a comment below and tell me, what does purpose mean to you now? Maybe your words will guide someone else who's still searching. Thank you for being here, not just for listening, but for feeling. You didn't stumble on this message by accident. Maybe life wanted to remind you tonight, you matter deeply. So go live softly but boldly. Let your love leave fingerprints on the world. And when the day ends, may you smile knowing you live with purpose. You loved well. You made this world in your own quiet way, a little kinder. ChatGPT can ma. There's a stage we all reach after healing, forgiving, rebuilding, a stage that feels like exhaling for the first time in years. You've cried your tears, you've made your peace, you've learned your lessons, and yet you still wake up some mornings wondering, what now? That's the quiet crossroads where true peace begins, not in doing more, but in finally allowing life to be. Letting life be doesn't mean giving up. It means loosening the grip. It means trusting that not everything needs your fixing, your forcing, your constant control. Maybe for once, you can let the river carry you instead of trying to dam it. For years, I fought every current that didn't go my way. I thought strength meant holding on tighter, to plans, to people, to expectations. But over time, I realized the strongest people I knew weren't the ones who controlled everything. They were the ones who could let go with grace, who could say, I don't know what's next, but I trust I'll handle it when it comes. That's a different kind of power, quiet, soft, unshakable. I remember once hiking through a forest trail after a long season of burnout. My mind was full of noise, goals, regrets, deadlines, endless what-ifs. Somewhere along the trail, I stopped to catch my breath and noticed a single leaf falling. It didn't fight the wind. It just swayed, turned, landed gently on the ground. It was so ordinary, and yet it felt like the world whispered, "See? This is how to live." That tiny moment stayed with me. Life isn't asking us to push so hard all the time. Sometimes it's asking us to fall, softly, willingly, and trust that the ground will hold us. When you stop forcing, life becomes lighter. You stop chasing people who were never meant to stay. You stop begging things to make sense before their time. You begin to understand that timing is its own teacher. Maybe you didn't get what you wanted because something gentler, quieter, and more fitting is still on its way. And in that waiting, you learn patience, not the kind that clenches its teeth, but the kind that exhales and says, I can rest here for a while. Sometimes life delays what you think you want to give you what you actually need. Sometimes doors close because your peace lives elsewhere. The trick is not to curse the delay, but to learn to sit inside it with curiosity instead of fear. There's a line from an old monk I once read. The flower doesn't open by being pulled. It opens when the sun touches it. That's what letting life be feels like. You don't pull. You don't rush. You just keep showing up day by day and let the warmth of time unfold you. And yes, some days you'll slip back into old habits, trying to control, trying to plan every detail. When that happens, don't scold yourself. Smile. You're human. Just whisper, I forgot for a moment, and come back to trust. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. I want to talk for a second about silence. Real silence, not the absence of sound, but the kind that happens when the mind stops yelling. That's where peace hides. You can find it sitting by a window, walking without headphones, or watching the sky change colors in the evening. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers you've been too busy to hear. When you stop filling every moment with noise, life starts speaking back to you, softly but clearly. Maybe you'll realize what really matters isn't everything you're trying to achieve, but the way you feel while you're living it. Maybe you'll notice how often joy hides in the background, waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. Letting life be also means forgiving yourself again and again. You will mess up. You'll forget everything you've learned. You'll lose your temper, fall back into old fears. Compare yourself to people you promised you'd stop watching. It's okay. Growth isn't a straight line. It's a dance. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and sometimes standing still to breathe. Forgive quickly. Begin again gently. The world doesn't need a perfect you. It needs a real you. The kind that's soft enough to cry, brave enough to laugh again, and wise enough to keep loving anyway. And here's the quiet miracle. When you let life be, beauty starts showing up everywhere. In the wrinkles of your hands. In the laugh lines of a friend. In the way light spills through a dusty window. You stop asking, what's next? And start saying, wow, look at this. Life becomes less about chasing meaning and more about noticing it. Because meaning was never hiding. We were just moving too fast to see it. So tonight, when the day winds down, try this. Sit for a few minutes without distraction. No music, no phone. Just you, your breath, and whatever life feels like in this moment. Whisper to yourself, I don't have to fix anything right now. Let that sentence wash over you. Because you don't. You really don't. You've worked hard. You've healed deep. You've learned to trust again. Now it's time to live, not by effort, but by ease. If these words bring you peace, take a second to subscribe so you can return to this space whenever you need stillness. And please share this with someone who's been fighting too hard lately. Maybe they just need permission to rest. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's one thing you're learning to let be? Maybe it's a situation, a person, or even an old version of yourself. Write it down. That's the first step in setting it free. As we close this chapter, take a breath. Feel it travel in, then out. That's life. Right there, moving through you, asking for nothing but your presence. Let it be. Let yourself be. Because sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is nothing at all. And in that nothing, you'll find everything you've been looking for.